thank you for allowing me to come up here again. I'll just put two things out here first. Firstly, yes, I am English and I'm ex-supermarket buyer, so the two things that quite often don't go down too well in agriculture. So I have been in the industry actually for over 30 years. The past 10 years, I work with suppliers. I work as a buyer because I believe and I know there's a better way of doing things. And when I actually look at what's behind me, some of the things that are on the stands here, that's how I work. And that's how you work as well. Now, in the introduction, I said about the report that I wrote. So I wrote it for the SAOS Conference, and it was about, the report itself was all about, is the UK food supply chain broken? And I spent about 6 months speaking to over 40 people in the industry. They had over 1,000 years of experience. And a lot of them works in agriculture, whether farmers, growers, manufacturers, different sectors as well. In the FPU was talking about that. And is it broken? Well, it wasn't broken 12 months ago, but it's hanging by a thread. And I think that's the reality. And when we look at where we are sort of 12 months later, then what's changed? Now, some of the key points here, what I've got here, these are actually quotes. These are quotes from people who I spoke to when I was doing the report. The first one actually is this, that retailers are often lambasted as being the sole cause of all ills in the sector. As one grower said, we wouldn't have a business if it wasn't for all the whisper, which one can engage the right way. And I was speaking to someone last night, and we were talking about the food supply chain. When you look at the food supply chain that we have in this country, it's amazing. What is delivered and how it's delivered is amazing. What you do, and someone's talking about the amount of eggs and the millions of eggs that we use, literally millions of eggs, every single week. So just saying that supermarkets are the reason for all of the ill, that's very, to me, it's a short-sighted way of looking at it. But when you look at it, actually, this is also the reality. So when I spoke to many different people, thinking about the sector and what was happening with the sector, I heard it on so many different occasions. Okay, so last night's panel. We're looking over the shoulder, actually, well, you know what's happening? This is what's going to happen. So if I do this, if I hang in long enough, I will be the person that is there, and actually my neighbours run into it. Now, that's one way of working. Personally, I think it's a very effective way of working. And actually, that's for working, what we see right here, about working together. Now, I know that that is the best way of working. Working together. And actually, working together makes the industry stronger. And surely that's what we all want. We want the industry to be stronger. We want the industry to work better in a way that actually provides more security. Look at saying actually, well, this is what's happening with the supermarkets. So the focus on price by buyers is relentless to try and reduce the cost of living crisis. Why is this a surprise? This is what they do. As an example, Tesco took all of their commercial team out of the business for a week. Train all their commercial team how to say no to the people that they are working. How to negotiate. That's what they do. Their job as a buyer is to negotiate. Now in the industry, a lot of the retailers, the buyers are getting new and renewing. So they don't understand the supply chain. I heard one story from one buyer, this is a buyer in Lynn, and they wanted some vintage cheddar. And the buyer said to their supplier, right, we won't have the vintage cheddar. But we want, this is an early part of the year, but we want it by the summer. Now, the clue is in the name. beauty shade take years. And sometimes that's what you're dealing with. So the experience is here, it's in this room. So you are dealing with experience all the time. This is what I thought what retailers want. This is their reality, what they're looking for. Long-term contracts with 100% availability. The tightest specification and the lowest price in the market. That's our reality. You can't have all three of those things. So if you want the tightest specifications and a long-term contract, you're not going to get the lowest price. As a buyer, I knew what I was paying for. What I'm paying for is availability. I wanted best availability out there, because if it's not on the shelf, I don't have anything. So that's why it's so important. So long-term contracts for you, long-term contracts for the industry. Long-term contracts are important. Make sure you do them in the right way. And the retailers, they're starting to wake up to the reality that long-term contracts are what affect the needs. And don't forget this. This is also the reality. When you want the quality, the standards in the UK are the best in the world. But they produce the meat, the fish that you actually have. So the further they move away, then the further we get from that quality. And then this is the reality. So the further we go, that's what you're adding in. You're adding in more risk. Now when you look at the sector today, look at all the different things. In this previous presentation, you heard about all the challenges that are faced. So we had Brexit, war in Ukraine, bad climate, issue what we got, more challenge. But the challenges are there. Now, the difference between now and where it used to be is that the risks, the swings that are taking place, are bigger than they ever have been before. What used to be able to happen in the sector, from my understanding of that the farmers, what you would do is you would understand that every year there'd be ups and there'd be downs. And in a good year, you'd put money aside for the bad year. Now what's happening now, the good year might be breaking even. And the bad year is happening with the loss. That's a model that can't continue. So things have got to change. What I believe in, and it says it up here, cooperation is about self-help and accepting responsibility for determining our own future. I've always believed that we have to look at what we are in control of. If all that we do is look externally for somebody to say, okay, well, actually, no, I'll do this. Is it going to be reliant on government? Is it going to be reliant on legislation? You're not in control of that. But think about what you are in control of. Is actually okay? Learning to say no. Now, if you work, particularly if you work with retail, retailers don't like to say no. But knows where it works. I heard it last week from a client I was speaking to. I've been working with one of the big supermarkets for years. And the supermarket, what they do is they keep asking for lower prices and better quality. And it came to a point, and actually last week, I opened, and the supplier said, no, we're not working with you anymore at all. You've got alternatives. And we're going to use those alternatives, we're going to grow those alternatives and not you. Now, this retailer has a significant proportion of the market. So when you've got such a large proportion, you don't have options. The retailers think they have options. If you're Tesco, you have 28.5% of the market. Is there any sector, any manufacturer, any grower out there that has 28.5% of availability, just waiting on the off chance that Tesco might come along? Doesn't happen, doesn't exist. So the power isn't there with the retailers. These options that you have, what do you have? Yes, retailers want. But what else? Your brand, food service, export. So these are things that are in your control. What are you going to do? The retailers in France will run out of alternatives. It's happened already. So it's the belief, this is the mindset that retailers have. They think that actually there will always be availability. That you think they are most important part. They think actually there's a plenty if they're using UK grower, then they get them overseas. Now, again, what's the reality? The reality is that a lot of those who are overseas, they look at the UK and think, you're expensive, you're complicated, I can't get it over the water in. Is overseas, is it the option for the retailers? No, it's not. Now, I know that in the UK, we have 64% sustainability with our own produce, our own food. And as you go through the year, that changes. But I do think that actually there are opportunities. Stronger together. Now, we look actually, because this is the sectors come together. This is about eggs. So, I was speaking to some of the egg sector, he said actually, we warned 10 months ago, producers would pause all production if they weren't paid a fair price. And not going to affect be fewer and fewer hens and fewer eggs. So, I don't know if you remember, there was a time when eggs in the supermarkets were difficult to get hold of because the supermarkets had this. What happened? We came together. And actually they said, you know what, we're not going to produce any more eggs. We're not going to buy any more hens. And there was no supply. Not just in one retailer, everywhere. And that's what happened when you come together. So I know this afternoon Roy was talking about how you can come together, and that's so important. So for the sector, I think it's massively important for the sector to work together. Think about what are we doing? How are we working together to make sure that actually the industry is sustained? And standing here in Scotland, one thing that I believe as well actually is that the export market. Now, if you look at Scotland, you are the experts in exports. You look at what are the biggest exports in the UK, well, you've got 2 million. Whiskey and salmon. So you have experts in exports already. So how can you learn from them? And I think we're going to hear a little bit later on again from Angus soft fruit. So I know that certainly look at some different sectors. The export market is there. So a client we work with down in Yorkshire, just outside Leeds, and they produce soft fruit. One of their growth markets is the Middle East. They're selling Middle East, they're selling strawberries to the Middle East. And they're making more money from that than they are from Morrison's in Bradford. So where are the opportunities? The opportunities maybe in different places to where you're expected to. And what I always think also, it is about mindset. The mindset that you have. So what is the marketplace? Is it, as Morrison's talked about, their marketplace? Their marketplace is their store. Is it Morrison's marketplace? Or is it global? There's a market for your product. That market isn't just going south. Keep going. Go beyond where the markets have been before. There are other markets that you can use, guaranteed. The other thing as well is that, think about actually, is that last year, we talked about global warming. So last year was the hottest year on record. What's the one thing that Scotland has a lot of? Now, I've been fortunate to come up yesterday, and today the forecast actually looking like a lot of any at all, no rain. But actually, this is what Scotland's got. 90% of the UK's is here. So we know that actually the climate is changing. Now what that means is for certain sectors that time that you can grow a certain product is very long. We've seen it with soft fruit. So soft fruit now, this year, there was UK soft fruit available at the start of November. And important to that wasn't just the vertical farms, which people say are the future. This is what's happening. So we know that actually that the future isn't just vertical farms. Actually, that the landscape will be changing, that the climate will be changing. Scotland is well placed to make the most of that. What I also know is you've got Scotland has got a brand. It's got a brand which is recognised, well known, all over the globe. So if I asked you what that brand was, what do you think that brand would be that is globally recognised? Wow. If you look at what is there, you just said it. It's Scottish whiskey, Scottish salmon, Scottish raspberries. You've got a brand that everybody already recognised. So yes, I know there are other brands out there, and actually some of the brands in the sector have grown significantly. You look at Bartlett's. So there are brands out there, but you've actually got a brand ready-made for export. So that brand is there. So understanding that how you can use that brand, how you can work with that, and that is about coming together. And that's something that I strongly believe in. But I also believe, as does these standards, the part of the change is here in this room. Expecting anybody else to make those changes, really, that's not how I ever work. I never work like that always as a buyer. If I have to make things happen, I do it myself. I can't rely on anybody else. And that's what this sector, so I believe that the change can happen, that you can make that change. Now, when you look at farming in particular, one of the things you hear about actually is diversification, and actually using farmland for other uses, and that might be whether that's solar, whether that is wind farms, whether that is making paddocks for dogs to roam in. So, yeah, this is one option. But the future is exiting. There is another one. And that's why the future is exciting. When I was at the SAOS Conference last week, I heard more and more people saying, you know what, I'm excited to be in farm. If that's how you think, that's where the opportunities are. We heard in the last presentation that actually when the market is at its most difficult, when there's the most volatility, that's where the biggest opportunities lie. So there are opportunities that are out there. The question is, will you be seizing them?